Hi, my name is Jason Record.
My name is Nathan Good, and these are the instructions for submitting your first .cpp file in the BYU Idaho Linux Lab. Next slide.
So the people who will benefit from these instructions will be any number of engineering students who have classes in the Austin building. Specifically, this will be geared towards usually CS124 students, as this is the beginning programming class for most majors that have classes in the Austin building, although there are a few other classes that require this. So if you have another class that requires access to the Linux Lab, you'll also benefit from these instructions. Next slide.
A brief description of what we are going to be covering. We'll be walking through how to log in to a Linux Lab computer for the first time, accessing the command terminal, changing your default password for a personal password, and then finally we will create your first .cpp file and submit it. Next slide.
So what you'll need to do in order to accomplish this is you'll need access to an available computer in the Linux Lab on the second floor of the Mark Austin building here at BYU Idaho. Now, for this access, you'll be given a username and password by your instructor, as well as you'll need to be enrolled in the class, which is a given in order to have the permissions to access the Linux Lab computers. Next slide.
First step is logging in. If the screen is dark, wiggle the mouse to wake it up, and in the login prompt, enter in your username. Now make sure your username, you don't have caps lock on or anything, that it's all lowercase characters. Next, enter in your default password, like we said, given to you by your teacher, and hit the login button. Next slide.
So in order to open the terminal, you'll notice in the upper left corner of your screen that there will be a terminal icon as shown in the slides in the image. Just click on that icon and the terminal will open. Next slide.
Now the first thing that we are going to do once we're inside of the terminal is change the default password. On the PowerPoint, we have the command yppassword. Remember, you need to type it in exactly how it is written on the PowerPoint. After you have written in that command, hit enter and follow the on-screen instructions. First, it will ask you for your old password, the default password. You must enter in the default password exactly how it is, correct, but to be able to move on. Once you have correctly entered in the old password, it will prompt you for your new password. After entering in your new password, it will re-prompt you for your new password to make sure that those two passwords match. Next slide.
So in order to create a class directory, you'll need to type in the commands exactly as are shown on the slides. The makedir command will make the directory, and you enter in makedir and then your class name in place of what's there on the slide. So just be makedir and then your class name. And then as well as if you're going to open that directory and store files in there, you'll need to type in the command cd for change directory. That's an easy way to remember it. cd and then class name. And all your subsequent .cpp files will reside in this directory. So as you continue to make these files, this is the location that you'll go to, and you'll use the cd command to continue to go to that directory every time you make a file. Next slide.
Now we are going to make our first .cpp file. On the PowerPoint slide, there is a command to create and open your first .cpp file using the template in the Emacs text editor. Remember, type in exactly how it is written on the slide to create and open your first .cpp file. Next slide.
Now, in order to save the file that you've created in the text editor, when you're ready, you need to hit Control-X and then Control-S. So hitting Control and X at the same time, and then after that hitting Control and S at the same time. So hitting these two keys in sequence, Control-X, Control-S, will save your file, and then Control-X, Control-C will exit. So you need to remember Control and X at the same time, and then Control and S at the same time, or Control and C, depending on which command you're trying to do. Next slide.
Once you have saved and exited the text editor, you'll return back to the terminal. Now that we're back in the terminal, we are going to compile our first .cpp file. Compiling is important. One of the things that it does is that it makes your program an executable program. That way you can run the program and see an output on the computer. Next slide.
Now for submitting the file. When you finish compiling and you're sure that it works, you can type in this command that's on the slide, submit, and then the file name .cpp, and it'll prompt you for a yes or no, and you hit yes to submit or no to not submit. Since you've been using the template, it'll give you this automatic yes or no prompt. If you haven't used the template, then it'll prompt you for more information like your instructor name, the class name, and then it'll eventually get to the point where it asks you if you're ready to submit or not, Y or N, and then hit enter. So again, when you submit, type in submit filename.cpp, and then when prompted, Y, and then enter. Next slide. Well, that's it.
Congratulations, you have now logged in to a Linux Lab computer for the first time, accessed the terminal, command terminal, changed your default password and for your new personal password, created your first .cpp file, saved it, compiled it, and submitted it to your instructor.
And remember, if you have any other troubles or problems, feel free to ask one of the Linux Lab assistants or your instructor for additional help.
Thank you.